Hello everybody. I just wanted to give you a brief rundown on the workshop guidelines, on my expectations and tips for these revision workshops. We'll have 4 of them throughout the semester. This is the first, have one at the end of each unit, and the purpose behind them is to help you think through the things that you're writing about and in response to these texts, and to help you to improve that thinking, to make it more concise, more audience friendly, because that's really one purpose of reading is to help improve writing. And also one purpose of these revision workshops is to help you to revise your process drafts toward the versions you'll be submitting with your final course portfolios. You'll take 2 of your process drafts, you'll revise them, and the revised versions need to be included in your course portfolio. So that's the purpose of these revision workshops, where you'll take your process drafts again. That's the first thing you need to do, find the process draft assignment sheets, obviously in the assignment sheets page. But you will take that process draft, your critical text, your creative text, and your performance text. Now again, your creative text, or if you do a creative text or a performance text, needs to be accompanied by a preface of at least 300 words. Remember that, and review these assignment guidelines as you work through these texts, as you build your process draft, which needs to be posted here. If you just click on this add a new discussion topic, you can either attach it or I'd actually prefer that you attach it. You can add it here, attach your file, and then share that with your peers. Maybe you could type something here in the message about what you struggled with or what you would like help from with your peers in revising this, kind of asking, say, how does this read? I'm kind of having a hard time with this specific section. You can do that, or you can just post it. So if you're looking for specific feedback, ask for it there. Now once you have posted your draft, you need to respond to at least 3 other peers' drafts before the workshop closes. Now, I've given you some guidelines to help you to guide these responses. Now, the first thing you should do is read through it quickly, make notes, mark places if possible where it's confusing to you, or things that you like, things that you don't understand, things that you respond to strongly. That should be your first reading. Now, go back and return to your notes you made on your first reading, and then expand on those with specific examples from the draft. So I didn't understand this part here, and this is why I didn't understand it. Then maybe you can offer some feedback, or a suggestion to say, maybe you could say it this way, or maybe you could add something a little more to explain what you're talking about. Just things like that. So instead of saying just I like this, or wow, this is awesome, or this confused me, or I couldn't follow that, give your peers specific examples from the text. I was confused by this because of this, or I like this because of this. Your language is really strong here, but it's not so strong here. Maybe you could even that out, make the language stronger here, etc., etc. That makes sense. Now this needs to be substantive feedback, so it can be useful to your peers as they go back and revise their drafts toward the final course portfolios. I just wanted to, I've posted this, a link to this document here, revising drafts, that gives you some pointers to the revision process. Talks about what revision is, walkthrough of the revision process, things that you can consider as you read through your peers' drafts, or these questions here. At this point in the revision process, you shouldn't be focused so much on editing, on surface level edits, things like, oh, this, you need a comma here, or this word is wrong. Focus more on big ideas. How does this paper, how does the draft flow? How does the story flow? How does the essay flow? Is it connected? Does it transition well? Things like that. Is the topic too big, or is it too narrow? Does the writer stay on track? Now, things like that are what you should be focusing on here in these revision workshops. Big issues, not so much on the little proofreading kind of things, but you can get to later. Now that is a basic rundown of the procedure that we'll be following for these revision workshops. And I thought really quickly I'd give you a brief walkthrough of a piece that I've written here, just to kind of say how I would go about this. I'd read it first. After the overdose of anesthesia had cradled Bosley into his final nap. Now, but as I read this, I'm thinking, oh, who's Bosley? So I would mark that, highlight it, and then if I were doing this in Word, I could use the review. I think I could leave a comment to the side. Who is Bosley? Explain. So that's a note from me to the writer saying I don't understand who this person or this animal or whatever is. Explain it a little more so that I know what I'm getting into here. After the overdose of anesthesia had cradled Bosley into his final nap, laying his failing body limp on the vet's toweled exam table, the vet checked his chest for a heartbeat, then looked at me and said, "It's done." She and her nurse left me alone with the body, the door clicking shut as they passed into another room, and I leaned over him and ran my hands over his charcoal coat. And go down a little further, we had noticed the loss of clarity in his pupils just 2 nights before, coupled with blood-pooled sclera and his lethargy, head-pawing, and paralyzed jaw, which had come on suddenly about 2 weeks earlier. We knew something was very wrong, and so did he. Though he didn't have the words to say it, I recognized that he had told us in his own way. Just days before we had taken him to the vet where he was diagnosed with trigeminal neuritis. The night before the neuritis really set in. Oh, but then I'm thinking here, what is trigeminal neuritis? And I'm going to do kind of the same thing here. Highlight that maybe. And highlight it again. I'm going to post a question here. Review, a comment. What is this? Explain again. Because I'm not quite understanding what trigeminal neuritis is and how it affects a person. So I'm going to ask the writer, what is this? Explain a little more. And this will give them an indication, give the writer an indication of where they need to expand a little more on what they've written. By and large, that is one of the greatest things I've come across when I'm reading through student papers, is places that need to be expanded upon, where they say something like this, where they refer to someone or to something that that they understand what it is, that he or she understands what it is, but their peers may not understand this. So you need to make those assumptions clear. And one way you can do this is by having your peers read your papers, which is what we're doing here. So just kind of respond that way. Go through, find places that are confusing, mark them, make notes out to the side, and then ask questions of your peers or to offer suggestions of how they could expand or how they could say this differently, of where it flows, where it doesn't flow well at all, etc., etc. So that's basically a walkthrough of my view of the revision process. Now, revision means re-seeing something, so you're trying to see this again in a new light. That's one thing these workshops will help you to do, and that will tie back into our course methodology and to the things that we've been reading. So I hope this has been helpful. Happy revising. If you have any questions, do feel free to let me know. My inbox is always open.